number 106 of Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies. Guys, today is going to be the most amazing podcast you've ever listened to, you've ever seen here on our channel, because it is like all new information to us. So
we're very excited about this.
Are very excited. So actually, we're not very excited. We're kind of a little scared. So what has happened? What had happened was that last week we went out of town. We talked about it on our last podcast that we were going out of town. We had to go visit family. And we had our lovely, beautiful Sarah Christensen, who is here with us today, our live-in pet sitter. She's a free spirit and a beautiful soul. And we are overly grateful now, even overly over grateful now that
Sarah was here to handle this.
That Sarah was here. Because for whatever reason, we're not sure, but some ghost entity, spirit, someone came to visit our cats and our cat sitter.
Yeah, what we know is that there was
away.
Some disturbing things that were happening, and that our cats were affected, and that there was an entity. We are going to be hearing the details of all of this at the same time as all of you.
Yes.
And very important story is our beautiful Pam Rousseau, Perfectly Holistic,
who is also here with us today.
Already know and love. She is our cat's energy here. She does so much for so many of you guys with cats, and this is a little bit of a crossover.
So today we invited them both to our podcast, Back in the Closet, so that we could invite you guys to join us as we learn what actually the F happened while we were away. It's kind of crazy. I'm really excited about it. Let's start with Sarah, because Sarah was the first to see some. I first want to tell you my first, the first text that she sent. She said, "Do you have your music on a timer? Because piano music is coming on in the middle of the night." And I was like, no, in fact, I know we're not as cool as like most of you guys with your Alexa, but we have our Alexa hardwired into a speaker system, and you have to hold down the button and turn it on in order for music to actually play in the house. So there's not like a way for the music to,
turn on by itself
and just turn on by itself. So I was like,
it requires manual labor.
And I was like, is she high? Like, what's going on? What's going on? And then we moved on. But Sarah, please tell us from the beginning, what the F happened.
So we left about 9 o'clock in the morning. You show up.
This was last Wednesday.
You show up.
I don't know if we really do know what really happened, but I think we're going to kind of put all the bits and pieces of the puzzle together right now and bring the full story together. So, I just want to start by saying, it's always super exciting for me when I sit for you guys. You're the vibration and the energy in your house is always just so up there. You can feel the tingles. You can feel it. It just feels really good to be at your house. So I'm always really excited. And so I pull up in the driveway and I back the car in and I'm getting out. And normally, I will put this out there. Normally I carry a little sage smudge kit with my crystals and all of that when I go to other people's houses, because, there is energy there and it can transfer. And I always want to make sure I'm showing up as my best self. But I never do that with you guys. I mean, you've found my crystals laying around after I've left and stuff. And that's just my personal little fun things that I'm playing with. But I never come in. I never sage. I never smudge. I never clear anything out. So I back into the driveway and I get out and I grab a little bag that I had put together. It had some bath stuff in it. I don't know if you remember, but I texted you and said, can I take a bath? You guys have this big jetted bathtub that I'm very envious of. And I was, looking forward to taking this big goddess bath, and I'm all excited. So I have this little bag and I get out of the car. I get my little bag and the bottom falls out and my crystal shatters. My big smoky quartz, it's this big, just broke. And I was like, oh, this is weird. Not a good, everything's rolling down the driveway, rolling down the street. I'm chasing it down, candles, random stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, get that out of the way. Let's, see what the rest of the week has in store. So I get in there and I noticed that the energy wasn't as high as it normally is, but I kind of chalked it up to, you guys, normally when I'm sitting, you guys are going on vacation. So you're really excited. And this was a completely different reason for you going out of town. So I felt, you know, maybe your energy just was a little sad, or, you know, maybe it's been a couple years since I've sat, you know, even with the kittens, with Jack and Maddie, I haven't actually sat for them yet, right? I don't think. Like I've been to the house, but I haven't.
October. It was October
Okay.
when we went on vacation to San
Yeah.
Diego. Yes.
That's right. That's right. So they're used to me, but it kind of felt like the cats were like, this lady's here. My moms are gone. Like, just, you could tell, right? So I'd mentioned it. Lindsay had come over and she said, oh, I'm going to, you know, come over and do some videoing and whatever. Just ignore me, do your thing. And so as soon as she got there, I was like, hey, you know, like, Friday's hiding, and Friday's usually the social one. She's usually, you know, Friday was one of the Black Panthers, and usually she's the first one out, first one to greet me, wants cat back rides and all that fun stuff. And I didn't see Friday anywhere from the minute I got into the house. So that should have been a huge indicator. But, you know, again, I just going through what I normally do. And so the day went on and I told Lindsay it felt kind of weird, you know, and I'm just kind of getting back into the groove of things. And we chatted and she left. And so we can fast forward to that night. I, you know, went to bed and I'd fallen asleep. And again, Friday didn't come to sleep with me. I hadn't seen her. And normally she jumps right in bed with me. She chews on my hair. You know, we do some making biscuits and then we go to sleep. And she didn't. And the one thing that really stands out in my head is Mr. Twist jumped in bed with me, which is like, no, he doesn't do that. He sleeps in your bed. He's a friendly cat. I pet him. I love him. Like, he's one of those ones that I just like to really get in there and love on. But he doesn't sleep with me. So I'm like, okay, this is odd. You know, maybe he misses you. And then I fall asleep, and this is the first night. And it sounds like people are going through cupboards. And I'm not talking like a cat's opening a cupboard. I'm talking like every cupboard in the house is being rummaged through, like somebody was looking for something. So that morning I get up, I text you guys, and I'm like, hey, oh, and then I called. I'm crying because I can't find Friday, right? Like, she still hasn't come out. It's been 24 hours. And I'm like, this is not normal for this cat. So I mentioned to you, hey, you know, I heard cupboards all night and howling. And you said, oh, yeah, Friday, you know, she likes to open the cupboards. And I thought, okay, great. She was probably active all night. That's why I don't see her this morning. And the howling, you had mentioned, you know, sometimes Jack likes to play with this specific toy. And when he gets it, he howls. So I'm like, okay. But I didn't think the howling was like way off the charts howling. It wasn't like I got a prize and I'm bringing it. It was like howling. So then Lindsay texts me. She says she's on her way. You and I, all of us, were searching the house for Friday, trying to find her hiding spot that nobody still knows where it is. And, you know, Lindsay comes over. She's helping me. And I tell her, I was like, it was just a weird night. Lots of cupboards, lots of howling. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, apparently Friday was up all night. Now she's sleeping today. She's being a teenager. And we kind of giggled, and that was fun. And then here comes the second night, and I'm getting ready for bed. Again, the cats were just very standoffish. Nobody really wanted to play. I believe that was the day that Lindsay got me on film where I was giving Zorro the ride in the little carrier back and forth doing the cat choo-choo. But so I go and I get ready for bed, and I go to bed early. So, you know, I'm turning in and I start to fall asleep, and I hear piano music playing. And I'm like, what is that? And, you know, you wake up and you're like trying to tune into what you're hearing. And I'm like, what is that? And it's like piano music, like somebody's playing a piano. And the funny thing is, I forgot that you guys had a piano. I was thinking like the Alexa had come on or something. And I'm like, what? So I just yelled, stop playing music. And it stopped. And I'm like, okay. Now, I don't know. I don't do well when I don't get sleep. What?
Oh my God, really?
I'm just yelling through the house. I don't do well when I don't get sleep. And now we're going on night 2 of not getting sleep. So I'm super agitated, right? And it's nothing that I have control over. And so I get up and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go take this bath that I've been planning on, you know, and this will be really fun. So I go in, I walk in your room because the big tub is in your guys' master bathroom, right? And you guys are in the closet right now. So I walk in and I saw what I could describe as like a wolf, a silver wolf, jump from the top shelf of your closet to the floor, and it just kind of dissipated, right? Yeah, right where you're literally sitting. So, right. So Jay, you said, you got the text and you're like, is she high? What's going on? And so I'm like, I'm tripping. Like something's like weird. And I just kind of stood there and I'm like, all right, well, so I start to fill the bathtub up. I was having every challenge in the book to get this bathtub. It would not hold water. And I'm like, okay, maybe the bath, I don't know, whatever. So I get so like, I'm leaving, I'm coming back in and it's not filling up. And I'm like, okay. So I took the plug out and I just stuck a wash rag in there and I just stood there and watched it fill. And I hop in the tub, I do the salt thing, whatever. I jump in and I just wasn't feeling it. I'm like, and you could feel like, you get that hair on the back of your neck that stands up and you just get goosey. Yeah. And I felt like that the whole time I was in your bathroom. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just try the bath again tomorrow. So I get out, drain the tub, I go back to bed. And I want to say it's about 1 a.m. now. I start to slowly kind of fall back asleep and the piano music starts again. So at this point, I'm like up to here with not sleeping. I'm agitated. My bath didn't go how I planned. Like just nothing's aligning. So I get up, I yell again. And this time I use the F-bomb. I'm like, stop with the music. Like I'm just done. And again, I think it's the Alexa, right? So I go walking downstairs and I'm standing there and I'm like, how did it come on? It's not on. Alexa's not on. And you guys know over by the front door, there's a speaker that you have to turn on. And then the Alexa's all the way across the room on the dresser. So I'm like standing there and I am not the most savvy with technology. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe you have it on a timer or something. So go back upstairs. I go back to sleep. And the next morning, that's when I text you and I'm like, how do I turn, is it on a timer? What do I do? And you're like, is the piano open? And I'm like, what piano? And so I walk and I'm like, oh, you have a piano. And so again, Lindsay comes over and she's filming and I'm kind of just telling her the randomness. And she's like,
and it wasn't open, right?
No, nothing. It's like the most out of sight, out of mind piano. There was nothing about the piano that said that it was playing music. And I'm talking like Mozart, like we're just going to town on the piano playing like a lovely song. It's not like keys, And so Lindsay, she's like, oh, and I told her, I said, Twist slept with me last night. He kind of got into it with Zorro, which is weird. He's like the most docile cat, loving. Yeah, Pam's shaking her head. Still haven't found Friday. And Zorro's kind of my sidekick. Everybody else is just like, whatever. And Lindsay's like, I think we should contact Pam. And I'm like, who's Pam? Well, I knew Pam, but I'm like, oh, okay. Like, are we like, that's a thing, we're going to do this. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. We need to check, have her check the energy of the cats and find out what's going on. So Lindsay texted Pam and then Pam responded. It had been a few hours, and she came back and she was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Oh yeah. And so Lindsay put us in a 3-way text and then that's where Pam takes over. Cause I'm like, what? Like, at this point, I'm like, this isn't happening. Like, what really is going on here?
This is so nuts.
Yeah. And the Pam has the rest of the story for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Lindsay texted me and she says, can you just check the cats? Something's off with Twister. He just seems real agitated and he's jumping on Zorro and he's not himself. And I do this for you guys all the time. So I'm like, absolutely. I'll take a look at that. Maybe there's some emotional stuff going on. I had no idea what I was going to find. But when I'm going through my checklist and all, the causes of environmental stressors, one of the things on my checklist is spiritual entity. Because when, objects and sounds and smells and, all these other things. So when none of that is a positive or a yes, and I get down to spiritual entity and it's just like, yes, I'm like, holy cow. And then I looked through, I was checking his emotions and things like that. And I'm going to read off to you what I found for Twister, the sweet little guy who takes care of everybody.
Yeah.
Friday was
Sarah.
I know, Sarah. We were like, oh, he jumped in bed with you. He was protecting you.
He was
Yeah.
protecting, yeah. So Friday resonated, Zora resonated, spiritual entity, power, survival, and worrisome. And I said to Lindsay and Sarah, I said, he's trying to protect his family. And he's very upset about this. Something,
The other thing that I had mentioned to Lindsay was the cats were over the top hungry about everything all the time. They just wanted to keep eating. And they don't normally finish all their food. And it was like Jack was literally going from bowl to bowl, scarfing the food down. And I was like, what is going on? And I even had fed them a little extra the next day because I was like, they're really hungry. And that's abnormal too, but that makes a lot of sense as far as survival goes.
Yeah. That's so interesting because we were like, what did Sarah do? Because we come home and they are eating like before we left, it was like difficult to get. I mean, Zorro's always a great eater. Twist and Pooh Bear are always great eaters. But the other three, it's like you have to chase them around the house. You have to, and then you have to put on special treats and stuff. Now, literally, since we got home, every single meal, they are on the counters eating.
Yeah.
They are.
We may need to do a follow-up on them.
Yeah.
It sounds like I do. No doubt. So then next I checked Zorro, and Zorro resonated with spiritual entity, not moving forward, stress to the max, and weakness.
Oh,
yeah. And so then I checked Friday, and Friday was spiritual entity, forlorn, not moving forward, unstable. You said she just appeared out of nowhere and she had cobwebs all over her.
Yeah.
And I got the sense that whatever was there was really attracted to the black cats.
Yeah.
And Twister was trying to protect them from whatever it was that was really drawn to your black cats. And whatever it was, may have even sequestered Friday for a while because she could not be found.
Well,
I don't know.
I thought I could hear in the walls, and I told Lindsay, I kept recording it. I'm like, listen, it sounds like she's in the wall. Mm-hmm. And Lindsay said, well, the ladies had mentioned that maybe their hot water heater was going out or maybe that's what you're hearing. And I'm like, no, listen, like it sounded like scratching inside the walls. And I kept going up and down the stairs into the bedroom, like where your big dresser is. It sounded like between that and the laundry room wall. So I just stood there and I'm throwing my hands up because I'm like, what do I do if she's in the wall? I couldn't figure out how she got in there. No clue. I checked the washer, the dryer. Like, I'm telling you, like, I have gray hair, you guys. It was not an easy. I want to do a good job. And I obviously didn't want to bother you when you were on vacation, but it was getting crazy, huh, Pam?
It was crazy. And I don't remember who I talked to after this whole thing happened, but someone I talked to I brought it up to somebody and they said, well, I've heard about spiritual entities taking their pets or whatever and trapping them like behind the walls. And I had never heard of that because this is not my realm.
Yeah.
But the fact that you said it sounded like she was trapped behind the wall and she couldn't get out. And whenever she did appear, she was covered in cobwebs. Your house is clean. There are no cobwebs.
I know. I'm like, where would cobwebs be? And then I was like, no, maybe he's using that like really crappy litter right now that's super dusty. And every time Friday or Zora get in there, they have like white all over their face and their paws. I was like, maybe it's that.
No,
it's actual cobwebs.
It was cobwebs.
My Friday, like literally, who you are, you do not fuck with my Friday.
Yeah, that's how I was on the third day when I brought the sage in.
Yeah,
we were having a critical conversation about my sleep.
Let's back this up just a minute then. So, first of all, I want to hear those recordings, Sarah, for sure. Secondly, would you have any idea who or what this is? So you're saying spiritual entity. Was it a wolf? Was it a human? What do you have any idea?
Well, when I was testing, I asked, is this a family member of y'all's? You know, because of what you're going through. And I know that you had other family members pass away in, you know, recent times or whatever. And it was a no. And so then I was going through other questions and, you know, anything that I could think of to ask. And what came up was someone who used to live in the house.
See, we know the entire history of everyone that's lived in this house. We don't know the person, but we do know someone passed in this house. And I will tell you that in our bathroom for the first several years that we lived here was a spot of red that almost looked like blood on the side of the bathtub. We never use that bathtub ever. And it's the bane of my existence because I have to clean it, even though we don't use it.
It's a dust bowl.
It's just a dust bowl. But there was always like this blood spot, which I would use as a ghost story to kids when they, you know, were telling ghost stories. I would say this, but it's true. There was always this spot, and over I would clean it and it would go away, and then I would come back and I'd be like, where the hell is that coming from? Because there's this like spot, and I'm like, well, there's a blood spot. Maybe he died in the bathtub. I'm not sure.
No, but the story is that he died in your office.
Was it my office or the guest room?
It was your office.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because the people that sold us the house told us this was her father. The one that lived here. So we've kind of like thought like maybe he would be here, but we've never really had when we had a roommate for a little while. He had some crazy stuff happen where the door would open in the middle of the night to the guest room, to your room, Sarah, where he was staying.
And we never thought to mention this. Don't take a bath in the haunted bathtub.
I mean, we've never thought of it as haunted, and it's not like we don't believe in this stuff. It's just that, you know, we've never been bothered.
Over right now to kick our ass.
She's never going to sit for you again.
Okay, so can we say, I think we need a new pet sitter. She's quit.
No, I took care of it.
Yeah, she took care of it.
And we love it so much.
Sarah, tell them about the water spot. Remember we were asking you about, is anything weird in the house? And you went through the whole house and you said the only thing I found was a water spot on the floor in the bathroom.
Yeah. So that was okay. Yes, I forgot about that. So the third night, Pam told me you need to sage. And I'm like, yeah. So I sent Jerry to Sprouts and he brought me 3 bundles of sage. Trust me when I say your house was lit. It was on. And I wasn't playing. Like, I was serious business. Like, you gotta go. It was like not where I'm like fluttering like normal Sarah, la la la. It was like, get out. I'm done. We're not playing this game. So that night, Jerry stayed the night. I got up the next morning to use the restroom, and there was what I thought was water all over the bathroom floor. And I came back in and I said to Jerry, there's water on the floor. He goes, yeah, I stepped in that too. I got up in the middle of the night. And I go, what is it? And he goes, I don't know. It's not pee. He goes, I smelled it. And I was like, where did it come from? And he goes, I don't know. And I was like, okay, that's super weird. So I went back in and I thought, remember the first day Pooh Bear had thrown up? Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is happening? And it was a lot. And I was like, okay, maybe he threw up again. But the funny thing is about that was, obviously, I closed the bathroom door before we went to bed. I heard it open in the middle of the night. And so the door was open when we got up in the morning. And I told Lindsay, and she goes, I think Jack knows how to open doors.
He does.
And I said, okay. But the floor was like, it was puddled. And I don't know what it was. We weren't drinking. So it's not like we had a drunken night.
Yeah.
Sorry. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah, can you?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Where'd you go?
Where'd you go?
We can see you and we can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're sure that it's not pee, she's going to come back. So if we're sure that it's not pee, here's the thing about the guest bathroom is that Twist has always been very, for whatever reason, particular about the guest bathroom. You remember this when you stayed here, Pam, and it was like, don't leave the bathroom door open. because he will go in there and he sprays the shower
Sprays,
curtain, and he goes in there and he sprays. She's back. Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's the ghost. So yeah, anyways, we didn't know where the water came from. If it was water, we don't know. But that was the last night that we had any kind of anything in the middle of the night. I don't know where the water came from.
Did you just dry it up and it was done?
Just threw a towel down and mopped it up and it was done.
And it didn't smell like pee at all.
Nothing. Jerry told me, he's like, I got up in the middle of the night. I heard the door open. It was like, what it sounded like to me was that like a bunch of shampoo bottles had fallen into the tub. And I didn't get up to check. I was in bed. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And then the next morning when I got up, I went in, I directly went straight to the tub to see if nothing was knocked over. But that's when I stepped in the water. So I don't know where the water came from.
Wow.
Okay, so comment. We know we have to shut the bathroom door at night or Twist will go spray the shower curtain. I wonder if it has anything to do with him protecting his territory because he knows there's something up with that bathroom.
Well, but that's the guest bathroom, not the
guest
bathroom.
bathroom.
I know, but the water appears there out of nowhere.
That would have been where.
And she hears the door open, and
It was a lot. It was like at
someone
least
had taken a shower and just dropped and just dripped all over the floor. Maybe.
No, it was at least a half a gallon of water.
Oh my God!
Like it was a puddle of water.
Oh.
And Jerry and I both were like,
in there today.
I was.
Let me make sure the toilet's not leaking too.
It's not, because once we wiped it up, we kept checking, nothing for the rest of the time we were there, and everything was super calm and quiet the rest of the time we was there. And Friday came out and was a happy girl, just like normal.
Oh my goodness.
So it seems that it was somebody. So Pam, back to what you have ascertained.
Yeah. Someone who used to live there.
Yeah. Okay. So
any idea if it was a man or a woman or any like?
I didn't ask. I didn't check. I didn't think to ask specifics, but I just got that it was someone who used to live there because I knew the house.
Yeah. See, yeah, we know, like, so the family that lived here that sold us the house were the second owners of the house. And it was the wife's father that she was caring for in hospice care, basically, here at the house when he passed. The person before that was a single musician dude, and he's the one that like had the house built.
But it made me wonder if like someone in the family may have died who used to live here. You know what I mean? Because even with the dude that with the father, we've not had like our cats react to.
Well, not that we know of.
Something.
Awkward silence. Ooh.
Well, I was just going to say, whether people realize it or not, there's a lot of spiritual stuff going on around us right now. It's a very spiritual, there's a spiritual war going on.
The veil is very thin now.
The veil is very thin. But I had to clear another client the same weekend as you guys for spiritual entity in her cat. One of her cats was hiding under the bed for at least like 18 hours, would not come out for anything and was scared to death. And she's like, what's wrong? Spiritual entity resonated for that cat as well. Once I did my stuff, I mean, she went out, she got the sage, she saged her house. I did some energy work on the cat. The cat's fine. But then I had to clear the second cat in the home because he was taking on the fear from the owner of the spiritual entity. It was crazy. So that's 2 more cats, spiritual entity in another home. So I think there's something going on, even though we may not be aware of it because we can't see that realm, but it is a very, very real realm. And for whatever reason, they come into places, into homes. Maybe they're attracted to cats. I don't know. But let me say this. I didn't get that it was a malevolent kind of being. So I don't think it was there to try to cause harm. I didn't get that at all. But the fact that it's trying to scare Sarah. Maybe they just wanted her to leave. I don't know.
That's so crazy.
I wasn't leaving.
I know.
I was very annoyed, and I think it realized that, like, it was messing with the wrong.
Yeah, you were prepared. You're like, I got my sage. You're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had
Yeah.
your crystals and everything. Yeah. So don't ever underestimate the spiritual realm around us, I guess is the message, because even though we don't see it, it exists.
Yeah. And you can hear it.
What are your thoughts on, and Sarah, has this ever happened to you before where you walk into a place and you see like an animal that appears but then dissipates? You've never seen that?
No. So in my life, I can recall one other time, and this was many years ago. I want to say I was probably 22. I had an entity that lived in my apartment that would peek around the corner. I would see the shadows. And my cat at that time, this is a great story. I woke up in the middle of the night. I was terrified. I could hear rummaging in my kitchen. I thought somebody had broken in. And so I snuck out my bedroom window. I was on the bottom floor, and I went upstairs to the neighbor's house, and I got my neighbor, and she came down with a golf club, and we went through my slider door, and we could hear like all this crazy noise. And we went in the kitchen and opened the drawer, and my cat popped out of the drawer. So somehow my cat had gotten stuck in the drawer, and she had like peed in there and everything. She had been in there for a minute. And it scared me, it scared my neighbor, but that's the only real experience I've had with like entities where I know that they're there and like it's blatantly clear. And I ended up moving from that place. But I did have somebody come in and do a feng shui on my apartment before I moved out. And they said, definitely the laundry room is where it's going on. And my cat would always go to the laundry room and try to open the door. But then you just open the door and the cat would walk away. But the cat always needed the door open and would never want it closed. But like I said, I moved from there, and I'd never really had any more experiences to that magnitude. There's been, you guys know my life, you know my story. It's not like if it's going to happen to anybody, it's going to happen to me. But no, that was wild. And the wolf was crazy. I literally stood there and was like, did I just see, like, is that a thing? I really felt a lot of negative energy around the bathtub. It's funny. Wow. I contemplated whether or not I did salt around it before I got in, just to clear it. And all, water is very healing. So I was like, oh, I'll just wash all this out and not think anything else of it. And then of course, Jerry, my significant other, he doesn't subscribe necessarily to my belief systems. He humors me. So, when I'm telling him, you need to get sage, you need to get this, I was salting the windowsill and, obviously I can't leave it because of the cats, but I was just really making sure that whatever it was left and did not come back. So if you could have been a fly on the wall, it probably would have made for a really great, entertaining moment.
What I was just thinking, what I was just thinking is we should look up the totem for wolf, like symbolism for wolf.
Yeah.
And see what resonates, or what it says, what the description is, and see if something in there would align with what you saw, if there was a message behind that or something.
Well, I will say specifically what stood out was it was a very shiny silvery color. Like it was like, and it never really hit the floor. It was just like kind of just like that. So yeah.
Crazy.
And that's what you heard howling.
So we really don't. So again, trying to explain all this to Lindsay before we like put all the pieces together. It was like, when cats are in heat and they do that, whoa, it was like that. It wasn't like a cat howling because he was excited. It was like almost aggressive. And I'm not saying it was the wolf that I saw that was howling. It could have been the cats howling at whatever, but there was blatant howling going on. It was not, there's no question about that.
That's so crazy. you guys know that the cats are spiritual protectors. So of course,
Yeah.
if there's somebody else in our house, first of all, Sarah comes over. You've been our pet sitter for years now. So they know you, but 2 years we didn't travel. You were right. Our energy was much different when we were going to San Diego versus, going to a funeral or a celebration of life. It was, a lot different. But they have you, and then they have this like entity. Of course they're going to try to protect you. Of course they're going to try to protect us. Of course they're going to try to protect their home because they're spiritual protectors. And they see the stuff that we don't see. We all know that, it's like children and animals, because I don't know why, but probably because they're just so innocent, but they and not jaded like we are over the years and years of getting more and more jaded with, everybody's ideas and that are just instilled into us. They see things that we don't see. And that's, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for protecting our home and our babies.
Laura Lee just commented and said, silver wolf totem is related to protection and devotion to family.
Ah.
Ooh, chills.
I was just trying to look it up on my phone.
That gave me chills.
Silver.
Yeah.
And specifically a silver wolf. I'm trying to see.
Interesting. So do we need to do a follow-up with you, Pam?
Like I said, they are still eating like crazy.
Hold on.
It probably got their leptin hormone way out of balance, just energetically. Leptin hormone is the one that tells your brain and the gut, hey, I'm full.
Yeah.
So if it's out of balance energetically, they can just act hungry and hungry and hungry.
Yeah.
And they want to eat all the time.
Especially when you go into fight or flight, it releases that cortisol.
Yeah.
And it makes you ravishing almost. Yeah.
That's the word we've been using. Jay got it wrong the first time. She was like, they are lavishing their food.
Yeah.
Lavishing their food.
Yeah. Like even you guys remember I made the video, Pooh Bear came running down the stairs. He's like, it's dinner time. Like it's not normal for me to I couldn't even get the food they were eating it before I put it on the floor. It was not, which was great for me. I didn't have to follow Maddie and the girls around and go, where would you like to eat your dinner, princess? It was like, I'm here. I showed up. What's for dinner? Give me more. That's
what it's been since we've been home. We were like, wow, I mean, this is really good because we're not having to, waste food, or we're not having to chase around the house, or be like, where's Friday? Because she sometimes hides for breakfast. And it's like, they're just all jumping up and they don't care that they're next to each other. They usually have their own spots that they're like, nope, let's just all like get together, pack and eat. Madison and Jack are eating off the same plate.
Yeah.
And then I'm having to put the other one there so they can eat. They can both get there. It's crazy. Yeah. Wow. Guys, that's our ghost story. What do you think? This is crazy. I mean, it's been fine since we got home. I mean, she's a silence girl. I'm not a silence girl. So like there have always been, the house was built, it's 30 something years old. So it's always had creaks and stuff that sounds anyway, but I always play music. And then at night we sleep with the television on until it goes off, but I'm already asleep by then. So I am a little bit on edge with certain sounds. I'm like, because I knew that this was happening. I'm feeling better now about it, just hearing the story.
Well, Sarah took care of
maybe a little better about it.
Could you feel it when the entity left? Was there like a combo? Was it like, I'm not ready to leave, and you're like, oh, but it's time to go? Like what?
Yeah. So the next day when Lindsay showed up, when I was saging, when I went into your bathroom, it was like the hair on the back of my neck. I don't want to say I was scared. I was a little scared. And I was so frustrated that I was like, no, I'm putting my boundaries down. This is not going to go on. The whole time I was there, I needed my sleep. So I did the saging and the smudging. I called in Archangel Michael. I called in my angels and my guides for support. I did a lot of clapping in corners. And, I just was very like, you got to go. Thanks for being here, but you got to go. There's no room for you here. Like you have to be stern. And then the next day when I felt it kind of like lighten up. The next day when Lindsay came in to do orders, she asked me to do the garage. I don't know if you guys saw the video of me.
Yeah, we did.
And I showed her how to do it and all that. And then it was that day that it just felt like even brighter in the house, like all the cats were hanging out. They were I had all the windows open. They were hanging out in the windows, just fun loving cats that they normally are. We played and, had snacks and, what we do when I normally pet sit. We just had to get back to the routine but yeah, you could definitely feel, a different in the energy as the next day went on. So I feel like it didn't want to leave. It probably took a bath. That's what the water was before I had to go.
Now I'm gonna go check that bathroom.
And I think it really liked your black cats, so it didn't want to leave.
Isn't that interesting though? It's like it's kind of sad because black cats get such a bad rap of being bad luck and all kinds of stuff, and then for entities to be more attracted to black cats, I wonder if it has something to do with their eyes, because they've got these beautiful glow balls. I'm just making this up out of my asshole, I don't know, but like they've got these beautiful glow balls. Maybe they see stronger, or they see more. Maybe they're more spiritual protectors. We did have somebody tell us that black cats specifically were big spiritual
really
protectors.
Spiritual protectors.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. I don't know, but don't mess with my Black Panther. Do not mess with my Black
Where
Panthers.
was Friday?
Yeah, nobody knows. We still don't know.
Nobody knows.
Friday has a hiding spot. She is always, she's had it since we've been home, where we've never been able to find it. She's never been covered in cobwebs, but we've never been able to find it. Sometimes it'll be like she used to she used to have like certain spots that we'd be like, oh, there you are. And it's usually here in the closet. And she's either up on the top shelf sleeping on my little sweater, or she's in the basket lately. That's where, we found her, but that's not usually when she's missing. That's just when I'm trying to find her to feed her. When she's missing, we go look everywhere. We have no idea. And then usually we call for her enough times that she just comes down the stairs. So she's somewhere upstairs. And we just see her coming down the stairs, and we're like, "Damn it! I wanted to catch the spot." Yeah,
but never cobwebs.
Never. Yeah.
We need to do a.
Did you hear that?
Animal.
Did you hear that? You heard that, didn't you?
I did hear that.
The bathroom just cracked.
We may need to do.
It's gone. It's gone. Don't worry. It's gone.
Yeah. We may need to do an animal communication session with Friday and see what somebody said.
Yes. And find out where she was hiding.
Yeah.
Her perspective, where she really was and what she saw.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah. And a follow-up podcast.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Pam, you're available for some follow-up. And Sarah, you're not quitting.
Never. Yay! Takes more than a spiritual entity to run me off.
That's right.
I was telling Sarah before we jumped on here, I was like, you know what? Most pet sitters, especially if they were having to live in the home while they are taking care of the animals, most pet sitters, if they see something freaky like that, a wolf jumping out of the closet, they'd be like crazy things, music coming on, they would be like, sorry, I can't do this. I'll call my friend, or get a pet, get somebody else, or maybe they'll, leave and then come back and be like, I'll come back to feed, but that's it. I'm not staying here. But Sarah just came in full. She was like, let's get the problem solved. Let's do what we need to do. We're taking care of the babies. They're my responsibility. And we've always talked about you. Everybody here already knows your name. I'm so glad that we get to put a face with the name, and how much we adore you, and how much how lucky we feel to be able to have somebody that will actually stay here with the cats, actually loves the cats, wants to play with the cats, and how it's just such a perfect fit. But now it's I don't know. We feel like we owe you a whole lot, a whole lot
more than a cookout.
Yeah, more than an air fryer.
Okay, deal.
Cookout. I'm just thinking of. I know we're trying to wrap this up for the last. I know we're getting
overtime.
We're getting overtime. But Pooh Bear would not come out of the closet. He had his little chair in the closet, and it was. I mean, he came to sleep with us every night, but he did not want to leave the closet. And then yesterday he came down and was like, "Okay, I'm going to spend some time in the cat tree and stuff." But he did not want to leave the closet.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, what I thought that was weird too, because I kind of associated the closet as a no-go zone, but he literally did stay in the closet a lot, to the point where once Jerry got there and he was helping me feed, he said, should I have Pooh come out? And he doesn't want to leave. And I was like, just give it to him in the closet then. Like, make sure he eats is the most important thing. I don't care if and don't leave the bowl, make sure we remember to go get the bowl, but make sure he eats is the number one thing. So we did bring his food to the closet. I want to say afternoon snack he got in the closet once, and I think dinner he got in the closet once. Yeah. So
our back podcast is
spooked.
A little spooky.
So I think the closet's safe. It's divinely protected.
Yes, it is, and it's a good another good excuse to renovate the closet because we need to do it. I've been talking about that.
Take out the bathtub.
Take out the bathtub.
A giant shower or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's on our bucket list. Yeah, we want to get rid of the bathtub and put in a huge walk-in shower. But
we've been wanting to do that for.
You have to have money for that. So
we're getting there.
We'll get there one day. That's going to be awesome. But thank you two so much. Thank you two so much for being our protectors, for being so amazing, for helping our cats through that whole situation, for allowing us to be able to go through and do what we needed to do while we were away and handling it. You guys are bosses, like freaking women bosses, and we love lady boss. You guys are lady boss through and through. Love you guys so much. Thank you guys all for joining us for this crazy, amazing story, the ghost story that goes down in history. Really.
Yeah.
So thank everyone for joining us, and we will see you guys our VIPs tomorrow night.
Oh yes.
We love you guys.
Happy Thursday, you guys.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Love you.